What's going on, guys? It is Bernardo, and today is all about MDT, dealing with custom settings and your Bootstrap customization. So let's get right into it. All right, so dealing with your customsettings.ini file and your Bootstrap within your MDT server, I typically have like a template text file that I copy and paste into these sections, and I just make the modifications depending on the environment. Now, where do you find your customsettings.ini settings as well as your Bootstrap settings? So if you right click on your deployment share node and you go into properties and you go inside rules, this is your customsettings.ini file, right? Or your custom settings. This is where you do all the customization. Now, off the back, this is what you get default, and the settings like yes, 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 or no, 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 it all depends on what you picked during the first time you created your deployment share. Now, like I said, I have a template, so I typically copy and paste this stuff. So these are my custom settings that I typically will use. The first setting would be just changing the name of your deployment. The user data location, I typically have that as none. For a computer backup location would be a network. This is typically good if you're capturing an image and you want to push it out to somewhere. I typically do capture stuff, so I have it yes on this part, but I'm able to change it to yes or no depending on what I am doing. OS install is always a Y. You definitely want that. Admin password, you're able to provide the local administrative password here within the custom settings section. I don't like doing this at all because it's plain text, but it's up to you. If you want to make everything as seamless as possible, you don't have to touch anything. You are able to customize the time zone. For me, it is Eastern Standard Time. For my work group, my domain, I like to hide the shell. No, I set that to no. And I'm not really applying any GPO packs. If I was, most likely I would set that to yes. If I am capturing a WIM image, I kind of set all the parameters here by assigning my backup share directory, and my backup file. I set all that information here. And if a lot of stuff that I'm skipping, I set it up at the end, which would be the computer name. I skip the admin password, the product key, the domain membership, user data, task sequence. I don't skip that because I want to select my task sequence that I want to push out to the machine. Time zone, I kind of skip that because I already set it at the top. BitLocker, I kind of disable that, so I skip that. The summary, definitely want to skip that. And I skip roles. I skip the capture on this part, and skip final summary. I don't really need a summary on this, and I just say yes. So these are my custom settings that I typically would do. I do make modifications depending on what I need to do with that MDT environment. Now for the Bootstrap settings, if you click on the button that says Edit Bootstrap.ini, you're going to get this. By default, this is what you get. This right here actually establishes the connection to the deployment share for it to continue. If you don't set it here, what's going to happen is you have to enter the username and password and the domain for it to connect and continue the deployment. I typically add these features. Again, I copy and paste. I have a text file with all this stuff, and I just copy and paste. The only thing that changes would be the user domain, the user ID, the password, and I like to have the skip BDD welcome to yes, just skip it. The password, again, I don't really like it. Sometimes I do like, entering the password because, again, the password is just text, just plain text right here. So it's really dangerous if someone grabs a hold of your Bootstrap and your custom settings.ini file, because if you're entering your password, it's just plain text and it's there. So once you close that and you apply your settings and then you press OK, you right click on your deployment share, you update the deployment share, click on next, and you're done. Completed. Custom settings and the Bootstrap customization is done. And it really depends on how you want to configure your stuff. I will give you guys my template. I will post that up in my GitHub repo. You're able to customize it the way that you want it, but that's what I typically will use. And that's it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and I catch you guys on the next one. Peace out.